Good morning, everybody. It's Kate Richberg, and it is time for Free Tip Friday on beadshop.com. Let's see, so many of you were waiting. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. It's great to see you. We've got Janice over on YouTube doing some commenting and coordinating over there, and we've got Gita back from her holiday extravaganzas. She is here on our Facebook feed. So it is great to have all of you all here today for our Free Tip Friday. As you can see, I'm still at the office, but next week you'll see me at home from the home studio, but we're just wrapping up some things here. And speaking of wrapping up, we are going to wrap up the year-end wrap today. So I'm super excited to show you. It's 5 wraps, and we're also going to close it with one of our favorite closure techniques. So I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So many people are here. It's great to have all of you all here on this Friday. If you're watching us live, it is Friday, January 7th. And I also wanted to mention, as always, a big welcome to all of you who have been watching us for so many years, but I know that some of you are also fairly new as well, so a big welcome to you. You can also find us all on our social. You can follow us at beadshop.com on our Instagram. A lot of fun stuff always happens there. Drea likes to give little sneak peeks and stuff over there, so it's a great way to get some insider information all about Bead Shop on our Instagram. You can also follow us and join us over on our Facebook group called The Bead Table. We'd love to have you over there. We are 7,000 members plus and growing all the time. So it'd be great to have you join us there and show off your bead shop projects and chat with other like-minded beady lovers. And then, of course, if you are watching on our YouTube channel, either now or on the replay, thank you so much for that. And you can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd love to have you do that over there so that more people will be able to find us. So thank you again for that. And of course, as always, you can find the information on the project and the products from today's broadcast right on our website at beadshop.com. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for the latest discounts, giveaways, and new products that we have for you. So that being said, and that out of the way, let me just check these comments real quick and see. Joyce is new. Joyce is saying, hello, I'm new. Well, hello, Joyce, and welcome on this Friday. Gita has put up the bead table link there, so we'd love to have you join us over there. Let's see who else we've got. We've got some old friends and new friends, and so it's great to have all of you here. Maggie is watching us from Puerto Rico, so I love that people watch us internationally all over the world. So it's great to have all of you all here. And my buddy Michelle from the great north, the great prairies of Canada, up in Saskatchewan. It's a balmy -50 there with the wind chill. Michelle, that's crazy. But I hope you stay warm. And I know that you stay creative, so hopefully that'll keep those winter cold blues away. But it's great to have everybody here. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? I did my first project for this, or the first, I guess the last project for last year, I guess it was. Anyway, I always like to start the new year with something I call the year-end wrap. And so I want to show you how we're going to close this off. It has some new techniques in there. So let me add this in here so you guys can see it. Oh, I love this. Everybody's saying they're from Colombia and from Holland, and oh, I love that we're so international. You know, we're not just a US beading community. We're an international world community, which I love. It brings us together through the love of creativity and beading. So I love that. Thank you guys for joining me from all over the world. It makes me so happy to see all of you there. So let's check out this wrap. Okay. So as you may remember, and if you didn't check out the broadcast, you can see it's the year-end wrap broadcast that I did. You can go back and check it out. It's also the list of all the materials that I used is on beadshop.com, so you can find the materials list there. I started out, and also just real quick, this is a great way to use some of your stash as well, right? You can't buy more beads if you don't use the beads that you already have. So this is a great one. Add a button or something from Bead Shop, and then if you want to go stash diving to create your own colorway, feel free to do that. It's a great one because we use a lot of different seed beads in this. So you can see, if you remember, here's just a quick tour of what I did, but I started here with this loop. Let me get my camera a little bit closer so you guys can see that. I started here with this loop, and the button hole, the hole in the shank was pretty small. So I just came through with some thread, and then I looped it through, and I macrameed, added a little bit of beading, came up, and then macrameed around all of those threads to create that loop. Okay, and so that's how I connected this one here, and you can see that there. And then I looped. This is the Greek leather. So the Greek leather came in 5-yard lengths. So I just doubled that leather over. I didn't need to use that much, actually. I think that 4 yards would be plenty for you to double it over, just depending though on how many wraps you want. So then I found the center of the cord right here, brought it down, and then I started that wrap with my flat macrame knot that's beaded. Okay. Then I ended that one and then came in and did this S-link knot that I'm really into. I think this would make its own bracelet section just really nicely. Instead of a wrap, just do this section, right? Or you can double it over and just have this kind of a double wrap around your wrist would look really nice. I want to explore a little more with this knot. This loop here seems like a perfect space to maybe add a bead or something here. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. But this is the first section, okay? And something like this, when you do a wrap that gets longer and longer, you have to try it on more and more to make sure that your wraps are not too that your wrap bracelet isn't going to be too long or too short, right? Because the longer it gets, the more you kind of have to finesse the length. But the good news is that it's easier. The longer that your wrap gets, I think the easier it is to size. Okay, and I'll explain that because we're going to talk about sizing here in a second. So I started this with the beaded macrame piece. You can see that here. And then I ended it with that beaded macrame piece there. Hang on just a second. Let me make sure. It seems like my screen is frozen a little bit here. Bear with me here just a second. Can you guys hear me okay and see me okay? Hang on, let me add this camera back to the stream and let me make sure that it's hold the phone, everybody. Something happened with my my stream here, so let me just make sure that I can get this in there. It's always exciting, right? There we go. And I'm here. Yep. Am I here? Am I here? Yes, good. And then it's seeming like it's a little slow. Sorry about that, everybody. Bear with me here just one moment while I make sure that we are all good on our connections. That's the beauty of going live, right? There's always something exciting that happens. So, oops, mute, mute. Let me see here, and let's go back into the stream. I think we're good. So let me put that back up and do this. All right. I saw something come up on my phone, and then I saw the picture freeze. So that was no good. All right, there we go. And I'm back. Though the quality feels a little slow. I'm going to change up my feed here. So talk amongst yourselves while I do this. Here we go. I'm going to take me out of this stream and take that out. I'm not afraid. I'm my own IT person, right? So let's get that in there. Let's get this show going, and let me make sure I am connected to my Wi-Fi. There we go. Yep, I've got a good strong signal. That's good. So let's get back in and mute that, enter the studio, fix this up, and get this show on the road here. Always something exciting. But that's the beauty of going live. So if you're watching this on replay, just fast forward through this until you get to the good part, right? There we go. I think I'm back. You put this back in the holder. Put this down, and let me add this back to the stream here. Hopefully I don't get any feedback. And yep, there we go. Bam, done. All right, as I was saying, this section here with this knotted section, I started with the beaded section here, and then I ended with the beaded section here. So that's section 1, okay? Wrap number 2, I did with this, the bugles. And I love the way that bugles look laddered, you guys. I think, I don't know, I've used it in a lot of my wraps. I think I used it in the year-end wrap that I did last year. You can take a look and you can see I've done it in quite a few. Here's one that I have just hanging on the wall. Here it is with the bugles and 11/aughts, right? Like that. So I love working with the bugle beads in the ladder bracelets. So play around with them. I think they add a lot. Okay. And then I used regular tilas. No, sorry, Checkmate's tiles on these, but you could use the regular Miyuki tilas if you wanted to do that as well. Okay, so here's this. Now, and I ended again with another beaded macrame section to differentiate between the two sections. This one here, I made it a little skinny mini like this, right? And what I did was I used the 4mm fire polish. You can see that there, right? And I used the 8/aughts here. I used those really tiny 11/aught delicas. They're hard to see. So let me get a little tighter so you can actually see that. See that there? And I was kind of cursing myself when I was doing these 11s because they were so small. But I think that they add a nice flash of that red color. So I'm not too mad that I did it. And I like the way it gives me some size contrast between these 8/aughts and the 11/aught delica. Then there's that 4mm fire polish. So I went through, and then I wanted some more blocks of red. So I used these 1, 2, 3 rows of that red 8/aught. And to me, it kind of mimicked the square shape of that Checkmate's tile that's right here. Okay, so then I continued on, did a plain, just a plain macrame. You could use our transitions, the transition large crimps that we use. You could do a silk wrap here. You could even tie a knot here, whatever works. I just did the flat macrame. And then I had been ignoring my other Checkmates tiles, so I'm like, oh, I've got to put those in. So I wanted, to have kind of a calming color here. So I used the 8-4270, that really pretty 8-aught, and then just went back and forth with these pretty gray beige metallic Checkmates tiles, and then just did that section so it was kind of plain. Okay. Yeah, Lynn is saying that she likes to see all the red. I am with you, Lynn. I'm kind of going through a red moment. If you saw my Wednesday broadcast with the memory wire piece that I did, it was all that red and gold. I'm really loving it. Right. So I'm having a red moment, I think. This question, it's a good question, and I will measure, even though I don't have my measuring tape here, but let's look at it. Is it my imagination, or do the sections seem to get increasingly longer? Great question. They might, and I'll kind of show you what the lengths all mean in just a second. So thank you for noticing that. Okay. So here is this last section, again with the 8-aught seed beads. And when we say 8 or size 8, it's an 8/0, and that 0 is noted by the word aught or 0. So I call these 8-aught seed beads. So you can see I've done that kind of open macrame over this interior cord, so you can really see the red leather coming through, which I like. I made that design choice there. So here, what I did, and I'm going to show you this, but I just pre-strung my 8-aught beads. So I used the gold, then I did the brick, then I did the gray luster, and then I did that silver lined. And then I just repeated that, and I pre-strung them. And so that when I went to macrame, and I'll show you this because I have a little section here that I'm going to show you how to do it, that all of the beads lined up. So I had red on this side and then the gold and silver on this side. And I liked the way it looked, but I thought as I did this, I thought, well, I probably want to maybe do that again, but I reversed it on this side. Okay, right here, so that the red is on the bottom and then the gold and the silver are on the top. Then I did that bugle thing. Janice has done this before, right? So I laddered with the bugles, and I'll show you all I did. I'll show you one. I'll do it here on the end so you can see it. I'll take it out, but I'll do this. I really like the way the laddering with the bugles work because it really gives you a lot of this leather showing, which is a really good, I think, design feature in my opinion. So let me talk to you about measuring and about the lengths of these pieces. Okay. Let me get my, I need to get another tape measure, I guess. I think I brought all of my tape measures home with me to my home studio, but I do have one little measurer here, so let me grab that. Unless I have one in this box and I covered it up. Nope, I didn't. Here we go. So here, this is a 6.5-inch ruler here. So this will help us kind of figure out. It might not be perfect, but so you can see like this first section that I did here, if we look, maybe if I take it from where the button goes, right? I'm using my Craftsy Instructor Summit. That was good times back in the day. They gave us all these little rulers. I love it. You can see here, this is about 6.5 inches. Okay. So my next section, so 6.5 is this. So I'm going to start my measurement maybe from like here to here. That's another 6.5, right? So my wrist is 6.5 inches. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to start adding some length, right? Or else it's not going to fit. So I started thinking about that in this section. So this is 6.5 inches here, right? This section right here. And then if I bring this one down here to here, that's about 6.5, right? And then if I go from here to here, this one's a little short. This comes in at about 5.5. But the way I'm gonna close this, you guys, I'm gonna use that trails end closure like Janice used in some of her bracelets. It's that Bead Shop Classic that we do. So this is where I'm going to add that length because this is a little short at 5.5. When I add this and this closure, this length here is about 2 inches. So this finished is going to be about 6 and then 7, 8. I'll add these 2 inches here. And so this will, this should make everything sit correctly. So what I did is I kind of stopped right here because I knew I had to start sizing it on my wrist. So what I did was I started to wrap this around. And so I'll get it out of the shot and then I'll put it in the shot so you guys can see it. Let me get it around my wrist here. This is real world. This is real world measuring here. Okay, so here's this. Okay, right there. And here's what I did was I kind of made a little, when I was testing it out, I made a little tester with a loop. So I was kind of guessing how long it was going to be. And I guessed it was going to be about 2 inches. So I made this piece first. Okay. And then I came around, and this is going to be a little hard to show you. But as I wrapped it around my wrist, I could see how much I have left to do. Can you see that there? Okay. And so what I'm going to do, the way I'm going to close this off is, get these threads out of here. I'm going to make a loop with this thread, with this leather, and I'm going to bring it back on itself like this. I don't know, it's hard to see here with everything, but I'm going to bring it back on itself here, and I'm going to maybe add a little touch of glue, and I'm just going to macrame this down, right? So it covers this closure. So right here, what I'm going to try and do, if I can, is I'm going to get maybe I'll get a clamper and see if I can come in. I need one of you just to come right over here and hold this for me. But I think if I put it here and I get that clamper and I kind of clamp it, there we go, without clamping my wrist in there. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to take this off. Okay. So, all right. So now I'm going to come here and I'm going to clamp this a little bit better so I know. Like I want a pretty big loop here, I think. Not giant, but not tiny either, because I kind of like the way it looks. So I know that when I come in to do my macrame, I'm going to macrame over the top of this. I want to keep that length. Why don't I just measure it so in case I lose it? So from where I finished my macrame there to about the top of the loop, it's about an inch and a half, maybe just a little bit longer. Maybe an inch and 5/8, maybe. Okay. So I'm going to take that out so I know that that's going to be right. So now I'm going to show you a couple of things here. I'm going to set this back up on the board. Okay, like this. Oh, thanks, Kathleen. This was a piece I did for the Great Bead Extravaganza a while back. This little channel bangle. That was a lot of fun to do. Just a little beads, little beads on your wrist. Make the day brighter. So I'm going to just clamp that here. Let me raise the camera so you can see it. So it's there. Now I'm going to clamp this end over here. And I'm going to tighten this up because I want to show you how I do this section right here. Okay, I've got a few left. So I need an inch and 5/8. So what I'm going to do, so I know that this measurement is right, is I'm going to get my little Post-it note and I'm going to give myself a length. So this is how much space I have to play with before, I have to loop this back over. So about right there. That's where I'm going to work. I'm going to work this. Okay. So what I did to do this section here was I pre-strung in order all of my 8/0 seed beads right here. Okay, like that. And move this a little bit more to the center. I'm going to set this aside for a moment. And all I do is when I'm ready to make my knot, so you can see here, I'm ready to slide this up. I'll make my loop and then I'll bring this side over the tail, under the center, and up and through that loop. If you have not done this beaded macrame stitch, we've got a great skill builder on Bead Shop, which shows you how to do this. Really easy to do. So now this side, since I tied the bead on this side and the loop came around, the beads are automatically now on this side. So I'll just slide one up, right? So there's my loop. Now I go over the tail, under the center, and up through the loop and tighten. And now here's my last one. My last bead is on this side. And I didn't do any stitches in between. So it's nice and open work, so you can really see that leather. This section was all about seeing that leather. Okay, so here I go through and here and up. Okay, now I promised that I would show you how to do that bugle. So I'm just going to finish with one bugle. It's going to look kind of like a, maybe, I don't know, a little finisher or whatever. I'm going to untie this knot because I put a knot on the end so the beads, the 8/0 beads, wouldn't fall off. So let me untie it because I put zap glue on the ends of my threads So they act like a little needle. So I don't want to clip this knot away because I still want the stiff ends of my cord to work. So there we go. That all just helps me unknot everything. So now let me grab a bugle, or two bugles actually, and you can see how stiff the ends of these are, and you've seen me do that before, just with a little bit of zap glue on your baggie, and then you fold your baggie over it and run the ends of the thread in there. Now I can't forget, this is I'm building up here, right? So I still have about this much to play with. So let me get a bugle, two bugles actually. So and this, I think it's a pretty stitch. Isn't it pretty? Let me get kind of right down there so you can see it. Okay. Especially if you do this with things that contrast rather than kind of blend, like these all kind of blend together. But the contrast would be gorgeous on this too. And remember, this is a 1.5 millimeter leather that I'm working with here. So I think it's the perfect size for this. So let's get this up. And I put my bugle here and here. Now Janice did this in one of her wraps. What she also did with this same stitch is she ran a thread down the center here and also strung a bugle on that one. So, and that just kind of rode along in the middle here. So it was a cascade of like 3 bugles. That also works really nice, right? But I'm just going to do these two, one on either side. So the stitch is the same, except you're doing it with a bugle and there's a bead on both the left and the right. Okay, so there it is. And see how it just comes in and tightens nice and flat around the thread, and it just lays really nicely there. So let me, which side am I on? I made that loop there, and I think this is the right way. Sometimes it's hard for me when I have beads on both sides. There we go. So there's that one. Can you see how nice that looks? Now I'm just going to tie a few, and let's make our loop incorporate that trails end loop that I made. And let's measure this. I'm just going to do a couple here, and I'm going to let that sit for a moment. Okay, let it simmer. So let me show you how I made this section before we go any further. Okay, just a reminder that that's the silk wrap. Okay, like this. Oh, and that's a good, Ronnie is saying that's a fun kind of thing. The bugles on the side combined with the A dots could make for a very subtle Morse code wrap. That would be cool, definitely. And Beth, this is round leather. It's just the round leather that's laying side by side. Beth is asking if it's flat leather. But you could do this with flat leather, the 5 millimeter flat, and macrame over the top, and then bugle down the side. That would look lovely. It would look exactly the same. You just wouldn't have the two pieces of flat leather side by side. It would be, or the two pieces of round leather side by side. It would just be a single flat leather. Janice, I'm looking to see if I have that project here, and lo and behold, I think I do. Maybe. Or at least one of them where you use the bugles. So before I do that, let me show you. This was that, I can't even remember when we did it, but this was an Odyssey project. And can you see, let me get a kind of really down closer here so you can see it. Janice did that same thing. She's working over a single piece of leather here. And so there's a single piece of leather in between these bugles. So you can see it looks a little skinnier like that. This one has the bugle just strung on thread, I think, and it comes around. So we're doing that kind of poetry thing, right? So this isn't the wrap that had the 3 cascading over the top, but it does have this single piece of leather coming down. So I have one of them in here. This was that really beautiful Odyssey-like necklace. Really, really pretty, right? Okay, so let me get back to this Trails End closure. And we call it Trails End because it was on Janice's Trails End project here. This is a real classic. And you can see she used it to connect both the button section here and this loop section here. And this is all strung on wax linen. So you can see how this closes. So when you do this closure, you need to take into account the button, how big the button is. Okay, so when I was wrapping, I started with the small loop and I wrapped and I wrapped and I wrapped, and I kept kind of checking so that when I finished this wrap, I finished it so this loop would be large enough to fit this button through. Okay, I'm not going to be so detailed with this one. I'm just going to show you kind of what I did here. Okay, so I cut my length. I knew I wanted it to be about 2 inches, so I kind of folded it over with the 2 inches here and clamped it. I'm going to use, you could use anything for the silk wrap, but of course I'm going to use this Ceylon. And this is the Ceylon in, what size did I use? Fine, I think. I don't think I used regular. I used fine. Now I'm going to come in here and let me just kind of arrange this. So I've got my loop. I'm going to be wrapping towards my loop here. So my loop is over here. You can see that here. I'm going to hold all of that under my thumb and index finger of my left hand. Now I've got this short piece here and the long piece here. I'm going to take this long piece and I'm going to wrap everything around. I'm going to wrap it around everything. The leather, this extra piece of thread, all of it. Now we've got a great skill builder for our silk wraps. It's one of the very first videos that we did here on beadshop.com a million years ago when we started doing videos. But I'm going to change hands now here with my right hand, and I'm going to wrap one wrap next to the other up to the loop, towards this loop of Ceylon. Okay? And this is where I stop and check the button, check and see if it fits, see how much longer I have to wrap, right? But I'm just going to just keep wrapping. Okay? Then once it's the right size, I also want to make sure, and I didn't really talk about this, but I want to make sure that this leather that's underneath it that's forming the loop is kind of flat. Okay? So it's flat, flattish, right? So I'm going to just take, once I've finished wrapping, I'm going to take that thread and go through that loop. Then I need to be careful not to catch it on that leather. And I'm going to come in and with my right hand, I'm going to pull this tight while keeping everything else tight, keeping those wraps tight. And as that loop catches the thread that I've been wrapping with, it's going to pull it underneath, and you can kind of see it like a mole in a molehill, okay, right here. And so it's coming down. I'm going to grab onto it, pull it just a little bit more. I can feel that it's gone kind of towards the center. So I'm going to straighten everything out. And I'm going to pull on the left-hand thread and on the right-hand thread at the same time. It's going to tighten everything up. And that's it. I don't usually glue my silk wraps, but you could add a dot of glue before that thread pulls underneath here. You could. So now we're just going to cut everything away. I'm going to cut this one away. I'm going to cut this one away. And I'm going to cut at an angle a little bit, that one there, and this one there, like so. Okay, that's it. So that's ready. Okay. So here, oops, my camera's a little askew. There we go. Okay. So now, back when I was here, so I think that this end lines up with this bead right here. Okay. So I need to come back, flip my thread, and I'm actually going to flip my thread not over but under because this is kind of the top. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to get my loop, make sure that I'm putting it through the correct one. Put my ends through. Make sure that my leather is flat. Measure it once again, get that loop down in there. I think it was that one. And there we go. So that's the size that my loop needs to be. Okay, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue. I'm going to macrame around all of this, I think. What I could also do, if you wanted, this is where you have some choices. Let me get down a little bit closer. So I can continue to macrame up just a little bit, end it there, and then macrame down. So I'm covering, so I'm getting both of these pieces, and then I would macrame back, right up to where these beads are. That might work. I could also use a crimp, right? I could silk wrap this whole thing, which actually doesn't seem like too bad of an idea, actually. Because then I'll have kind of like these tails and I could add something to them. Maybe I want to do that. Let me see how that looks. I haven't macrame or silk wrapped something like this in a while, so let me see how it might look. Just bear with me here. This is why I kind of sometimes like doing these live for you guys, so you can kind of see what my thought process is here. Let me get this here. Clamp it, being careful not to bust any of those beads. I want to make sure that this doesn't grow, right? That this is the right size. So let me get a loop here. Let me lift this so you can kind of see what I'm doing, how I'm arranging all of this. And this is just, you're using all of the tricks in your bead chest here, right? All of the little techniques that you know. So I'm going to come and clamp this also at the top so everything is tensioned. There we go. So see here how this is, and my macrame is down underneath there, right? So what I'm going to do is, let me just macrame this a little bit and close this loop up, get this tight. Then I can make a decision, because maybe I just want to do this and macrame it like so. But you could also, like I was saying, you could silk wrap, but let me see. Sometimes you just have to see what works. I want it to look nice and neat, and I want it to be sturdy. Those are my two criteria, right? Not a bad criteria. So you can see, there we go. Just a nice, clean connection. And I want these loops, I don't want to macrame this loop up too tightly because I need some movement there. Okay. So there's that. Let me see. I'm going to undo this. Right? So now I need to decide how this looks, right? Looks really clean on the top here. Looks really good underneath here. Now I could glue this, right? I need to do some gluing. But I think what I want to do, and I don't think there's enough room here to do it, I might want to just bring these ends back up and through, okay, instead of gluing. So let me see if I have a big eye needle here, which I do. If I didn't tighten it too much, this may all end in tears, but we'll see what happens. Okay. I'm going to get a big eye. You could also use a collapsible eye needle, but I think that the big eye is going to be good. Because I need something that's kind of stiff, right? So watch what I do here. I'm looking at the side here. There's some room. So I think I can get that needle without clipping any of the thread or anything, right? See how it's going through there? I'm going to slide this through. Let me get this out of the way. Let me get this thread out of the way. Get it ready to slide underneath. I think that the thread wants to go in the top of the needle, so let me reposition this thread because I don't want it to twist at all when it goes through underneath that macrame. There we go. Good. Now I'm just, she says encouragingly, going to pull this. My hands don't want to pull this needle because I put some lotion on them, but so let me get my plier and just coax that underneath. There we go. Look at that. Nice and tight. I'll do the same to the other side. Get my little string off of there. So I think I'm not going to string this first. I'm going to put the needle underneath first. You know, you learn every time you do something like this. So I'll put the needle underneath that little side, pull it up, open it up, put the end of your thread through. I need a little bit of slack there to pull. So I'm here, and I need that plier again. Brings that thread through. There we go. Now let's look. So here's this, and here's this. Now I've got these tails, so I can decide what I want to do here, right? I could add a little bit of glue up on the inside of that, right? Just to make sure that it's tight, so I can insert the tip of that GS and just give it a little bit of gluing, not too much. And then I'll come in and I'll get my thread burner and I'm gonna come in hopefully without burning anything else. Burn these away. You can also clip them, but since I have the thread burner out, there we go. Now I've got these ends, and you want these to be comfortable too, right? So I'm going to actually cut them like right up close here, I think. Then I'm going to add just a little more glue so it's nice and compact and tight. So I'm just going to come in with my wire cutter, clip it right up there. I'm going to get my glue. Glue that down, get my toothpick, and just really push it in there. Right? Nice and clean. Look at how nice it looks on the outside. And I like how this looks here. This like final little bugle bead here on the end. Okay. So now if we look at it, we've got this trails end closure. So we have, let me bring this up a little bit. And I'm going around and I'm going around once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 here, right? So did I wrap it 5 times? 1, 2, 3. Nope. Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wrap. There it is. And so you can see how everything looks. You know, nothing is lining up too awkwardly. You know what I mean? That's sometimes I worry that, see, like here, you can see like these connections are kind of lined up, but it's not too bad, right? I mean, that's what a wrap bracelet's all about. Just let the cards fall where they may, right? Look at how pretty that looks. That side looks with this leather on this side, right? Let's keep going around here. So that looks like this. And then we're back here. So 5 wraps ready to go. So the year-end wrap, you guys, is a wrap. I hope you like it. I'm pretty pleased with it. We'll have this up on the website. I'm gonna try not to disturb it here. I'm gonna take a couple of pictures for Drea in the interim, and then Claire will be here next week and we'll photograph it for you. But let me see if I can bring kind of the camera down and you can see kind of a nice view of it. So I'm really excited for you guys to create something for your year-end wrap or your beginning wrap. I think it's pretty fun. The red I'm really, really liking a lot, actually. I have the memory wire project also that I'm going to show you guys. I'll show you that next week. It's almost done. And Drea has the other one. So we'll have those 3 colorways up for you. But let me show you, I'll show you that one more time. So you guys were saying that you wanted to see it one more time. So there it is. There it is in all of its glory. And I'm pretty pleased. I think it's fun. What feels accomplished, right? Oh, and Patricia is saying that you are flattering me. Absolutely the most beautiful wrap so far. I don't know about that, but I'm stoked that that you like it. So thank you guys so much for that. All right. That does it for me. Friday year-end wrap is a wrap. I'll see you next week. Next week, we're going to start a 2-part. It may even be a 4-part. I don't know. It might be Wednesday, Friday, and Wednesday, Friday. I have no idea. But you have asked, it's a bead doctor question that we have had, that you guys have been asking for a necklace that's loomed, kind of that traditional, way old school loomed necklace. So I'm tackling it. I love bead weaving. I love it. We're going to start next week, next Wednesday, on looking at using two different looms. We're going to use the bead design board as the loom, which is ultimately what I'm going to use for the necklace. And we're going to compare it to like the jewel loom. And I'm going to talk about warping them and doing all of that. And then we'll jump into the beginning of the necklace. And then the following week, we're going to close it. Okay. So even if you're not into seed bead work, right, I think you're going to learn a lot here because it's going to be loom sections, strung sections. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. At least I hope you will. So, but it's a big, epic project. But nothing like, an epic year. 2000, no, 2022, whatever year it is, needs to start out off with an epic project. So we're going to loom, bead weave. It's going to be fun. So I will see you all next Wednesday back from my home studio. Thanks, you guys. Stay safe out there. It's crazy. So do your best, stay well, stay creative, and I will see you next week for looming. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.